My table saw is the Skill Saw SPT 9912 10-inch worm drive, and it came with this stand. There's nothing special about this shop project. I'm really just building a wooden stand to put the table saw on because I want to replace the portable one that it came with. It takes up a little bit too much space in my shop, and I don't use it at all in the capacity that was made for it. I'm building this stand to basically just be an extension of my existing workbench. So I measured the saw from top to bottom, and then I measured the height of my workbench. In essence, I just backed into the height of the platform that I was building. I also wanted the saw top to be about 1/8 of an inch higher than the existing workbench, so I wouldn't have any problems when I was pushing material through the saw and using the workbench as an outfeed table. The top of this stand was going to be 32 by 34 3/4. I had a 4 foot by 4 foot sheet of BC sanded plywood that was 3/4 inch thick to cut it out of. But since I don't have that kind of capacity to rip that on my table saw, I needed to cut the off piece. Since I was cutting off of the excess, I couldn't just set my table saw for the 15 7/8 I needed to cut off. I had to actually measure 15 7/8 from my fence to the outside of the saw blade, so I didn't accidentally cut off too much. Don't forget to do this if you have to do that yourself. This stand is incredibly basic. It's really just 4 legs with some 2x4s to hold it together and a piece of plywood for the top. I wanted the dimensions of the legs I was building for this to match the dimensions of the legs on my existing workbench. Since those dimensions were about 4 inches by 3 inches, I knew I could get 1 leg out of each 21-inch piece of this 2x10 yellow pine. After all the cross cuts, I took these pieces over to the table saw. I wanted to cut off those annoying rounded edges that are on this lumber when you buy them from the store. Once that was done, I just ripped these down to the 4-inch pieces I needed to make the legs. Time to snag some clamps and do this glue up. I needed to square these legs after the glue up, so I started at the miter saw and trimmed a little bit off the top and bottom. Then I took them over to the joiner and jointed one edge, and I did the rest on the planer. I calculated the lengths of the 2x4s I needed to pull this all together, and then I put some pocket holes in them. I grabbed some clamps and I just kind of pieced it all together. Before I put some of the final screws in this thing, I went ahead and measured the diagonals to check it for square. Mine was a little bit out, and I just kind of brute forced it into place. To attach the top, I simply drilled holes and countersunk them, and then just screwed it on. cleaned the area real quick and then I just kind of plopped it down in place. After that, I sanded the top just to make sure it was relatively smooth. All that was left was to take the saw off the original stand and put it on the one I built. This is something I've been wanting to do for a little while. I didn't necessarily have to make a video out of it. It's really a pretty simple project, but I figured why not. Also, I want to say thanks to everybody that's been watching my videos. I've only got 2, but I plan to keep doing some, so thanks again for all the support. I really appreciate it. My next project is a walnut dining table I'm building for some in-laws. If you've been waiting around for a more traditional woodworking video, keep your eyes open for that one. It should be coming up in probably a few weeks. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.